The first time I ever rolled a joint was actually in your guys' house. Did you know that?
What?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I bought
Jake!
some stuff from a friend, and I was in your guys' house, and I remember doing it for the first time.
Jake! My
Yeah.
parents are never gonna forgive you.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to The Boring Show. We got episode 5 today, hosted by myself and Joseph Power. Take it away.
Alright, boys, we've got a banging episode, boys. We've got another guest today. He's my cousin. He's an actor. He's started in, he's been in the movies Bagels and Bubbles on both Dutch TV series. He's been in The Super Dad, which is a German film. He's been in Black Sails, which is a product of Universal Studios. And he was a third in SPUD. And he's also a marijuana enthusiast and an ambassador for K-Oils. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Jake Maisel.
How's it going, everybody? Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty sick. Now today we're gonna be as I said, Jake is a huge marijuana enthusiast. He's also, as I said, an ambassador for K-Oils. We're gonna talk about all that stuff. So today we're talking about weed. We're gonna be talking about the health, medical, and legislative aspect of it. We're gonna be talking about that. And we're also gonna be talking about the laws, but also we're gonna be talking about Jake's acting and what life on set's life and general life was life an actor. So I think it's gonna be a sick episode. What do you think, Gibbs?
Yeah, it's going to be a banging episode. Anyway, so first of all, what we're going to talk about is, the weed.
The weed.
Jake, tell us about your love for weed, man. Tell us about your love for weed,
I
Jake.
was actually thinking about something earlier, and Jojo, you're gonna find this so funny, dude. So the first time I ever rolled a joint was actually in your guys' house. Did you know that?
What?
Yeah, dude. I bought some stuff from a friend, and I was in your guys' house, and I remember doing it for the first time.
Jake, my parents are never gonna forgive you, man. I was hoping you could babysit us again. It's never happening now. You can just forget it.
I've been waiting for a good time to tell you that, bro.
Yeah, this was a good time. That is a bit worrying though. Now, Jake, tell us about your love for weed. What is it about weed that draws you to it? Because you're a very big weed enthusiast. What about weed is so great for you?
Yeah, weed's a love and hate relationship always, I find, because it sometimes can be a bit of a cap for you, but when used with balance, I think it can always be a positive asset to your life. It always depends on the person, but for me, I always found that creatively, I always found it extremely important to use in when I'm preparing my own work. And also just I grew up with a lot of anxiety, and so I always found marijuana, when I came to using it, basically after when I was 18 years old, I found it to be quite helpful in that regard too. And I really love nature, and the colors always look so beautiful for me. I've always been a little bit colorblind, so I don't know, dude. It just works for me. It doesn't work for all people.
Yeah, that is definitely true. But would you say what aspects about weed, is it the CBD or is it the THC or is it the combination of both that just helps you a lot?
Look, I'm not the biggest fan of CBD. I know what it does. That's what has the calming element. But for me, all stoners get really excited about what the THC can bring to the table. The THC is the good stuff. That's the psychedelic component of the plant in a way.
It's psychotropic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Jake, I think this would be quite interesting because obviously you're an actor, and we're gonna get onto just life on set and life as an actor in general, but later in the podcast. But sure. I'm interested to know that as you said, it inspires you creatively. But is there a greater relationship between acting? Because I know a lot of when I think of actors, I know that they're very pro weed, and a lot of actors smoke weed. So can you describe the relationship and how weed helps or affects acting in any way?
Look, basically what I found is that most actors are completely against the use of marijuana, especially on stage.
Right.
I find that and I agree with them, because I think performing under the influence, it ruins the motivation of certain characters. And if it's not applied to what's happening in the real life of the script, then you shouldn't be intoxicating your mind with that stuff. I use it in the process of creating my ideas and all stuff like that. Because that's the time when you can make mistakes, falter, think about different angles to take, and that's where the creative side of it comes really nicely in handy to use.
Yeah, all right, Gibbs, I heard, Gibbs, you've got some questions about it. I'm gonna ask him some more questions. I'm gonna give you, I know you had some interesting questions you wanted to ask him about it.
I'm curious to know, what do you guys think of
Oh, we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that, but before we do that, we got a lot of cool stuff.
I'm doing the Q&A. Okay, cool. Let's do it.
Gibbs, ask him some questions.
There's something like I've always seen in movies and stuff. People say that weed is like a gateway to other like drugs. Is that true? Or?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like people can get addicted to the feeling of marijuana that it gives you, the state of mind it gives you, but I don't think you can physically be addictive to
it's more of a mental addiction.
or CBD.
Yeah.
It's more the mental. Yeah. But I mean, a gateway drug. What's a gateway drug, dude? Like alcohol is a gateway drug. It all gets you to the same place. I mean, I don't really see it as a gateway drug.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Gibbs.
Yeah. So, I actually saw somewhere that like doing it on the reg can actually make you like lose weight. Like it gives you a faster metabolism and stuff.
Well, I mean, that's what it does. It makes you eat a lot, but it also
and it's ironic that you get
really
munchies, but you actually lose weight. And
yeah, exactly. I'm in decent shape, so we're doing something right.
Yeah, you do a lot of surfing, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I do a lot of surfing. So I like to smoke weed and surf too. It's pretty fun, unless it's really cold.
Yeah. Okay. Now, yeah, Jake. Basically, so we're gonna get into the Okay, I know we still got a couple more questions about it for you, but we're gonna be talking. No, I wouldn't say debate, but we're just gonna be talking about the pros and cons of weed. And but Jake, I know there are a lot of famous people that use weed. Like there are a lot of famous people that
Yeah, they definitely are.
Yeah. So as I already asked you about like the relation between acting and weed, but do you think like what are the motivators for weed, and are there any ways weed can be bad for people? And if so, do you know people that have been heavily negatively affected by weed?
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and that's why I said at the beginning earlier, it's a love and hate relationship, because if you don't have balance with, I think, anything in general, there's always going to be a leaning towards a different direction. And I feel like it's exactly that with weed. You know, if you're frying your brain all the time, then you're not going to be able to have proper conversations and be productive. And it does block you in certain regards. So you need to find the balance with everything for sure.
I give it.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, like in movies and stuff, they always say like grass makes food taste 1,000,000 times better. Is that true? Like,
I mean,
just feels.
You guys have never.
Tastes way nicer.
I find that hard. Oh yeah, no, dude, it really does. Food is flippin' delicious when you got the munchies. You can just eat all day. I think just the act of eating feels good. You know, like you feel the food in your mouth, and you're like, yeah, I could do this all day long.
Don't a lot of people like get quite sick when they get the munchies and then they eat a lot?
I mean, yeah, you eat a lot, you get sick. That happens. Happens to the best of us.
No, okay, Jake. Jake, you said you wanted to ask some questions, but I think that it's gonna be a we're gonna get into that a bit later. But right now, so Jake, you're K Oils. You're an ambassador, I think.
Yes, I'm an ambassador for, it's called Kai oil because it's produced in the Transkei. So it's really lovely. It's a mixture of CBD and THC oils. And yeah, basically sold in a bottle of 25 milliliters. And let's just say it does the trick, you know, it's got a really wide range of users. People of all ages use it, obviously over 18. But within that range, because it helps with a whole lot of issues. Like you can use it to get stoned, but if you have anxiety or you have problems with sleeping, it's also brilliant for that. So
yeah. Well, that's more the CBD aspect, isn't it? About Also, yeah, the CBD aspect about like helping people with anxiety and stuff, which we're going to get into a bit later. But also, I'm aware that a lot of people use it for chronic pain and dealing with like chronic pain and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the stuff's really strong. I had a friend who he tested it out, like how much you can physically take. He took like 20 drops, and he said it was like the closest thing to like a psychedelic mushroom trip that he's ever had. So the stuff, like, you can't mess around with that stuff. You can't take it lightly.
Right now, right, Jake. I think it's very interesting because so many people, especially with the legalization of marijuana all across the world, people are smoking weed a lot now. It's become a very normal thing. Not yet in South Africa.
Yeah.
We're going to get into the current weird laws of weed right now in South Africa. But basically, I wanted to talk to you about weed's becoming normal. But it's quite interesting to understand why people get into weed. There's a lot of people. So, what was your motivator for starting with weed? Like, how did you first try it? Why did you first try it? And what about it? What motivated you to basically just first try weed?
I mean, for starters, it's really age appropriate. I think that's like I'm a university student studying like an arts degree. It seems cliche for me to almost like say that I'm a marijuana user. Yeah, like you said, it's super normal. And so like for me, it was never like, oh, okay, like, do I get into this? It was just like, all right, this is a part of like where I'm at right now. And I just kind of got like jumped on the bandwagon. I didn't think about it too much.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, do you grow your own stuff, or you do
Yeah.
do you get it from somewhere?
I really love growing. I recently grew my first plant. So do you guys know the difference between like an indica and like a sativa?
I literally have no idea. I literally have no idea.
So for those of you who don't, indica is a strain of marijuana that usually inclines to being a more sleepy couch potato kind of experience.
Does it have THC in it? Does it have THC?
Yeah. They both have THC.
It makes you sleepy.
But the sativa just kind of elevates you a bit and makes you a bit more talkative, energetic. So you can kind of choose. The plant that I recently grew is an indica, and so not my favorite. I'm more of a sativa person, but I grew my first indica, and it was beautiful. It was lovely. I find growing super therapeutic. I would talk to my plants every day and tell them that I love them and sing them songs.
Jake, now I've got an interesting question. I've got an interesting question for you, Jake. Weed has a very, very big reputation of making people lazy, making people couch potatoes. But for a lot of people, especially Joe Rogan is one of the biggest people pushing what I'm about to say. Would you say weed makes you more productive or more lazy? Or can you describe the relationship between? Because I'm aware that there's a fine line between the two with weed. So yeah, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, it definitely can just put you in the couch and make you lazy and take away all your ambitions in life and make you a complete loser, for sure. But like, it's also great if you want to go for a run or do some sport. You kind of got to figure out like what suits you and figure out like what you can be productive on. Because if you're having something that's too strong or that just doesn't suit your psyche, then you're not going to click with it.
Yeah.
So it's nice to find something that you click with, and then like, okay, I'm going to the beach today. I want to run around and do this or that or whatever, and this is what I'm going to take with me.
Yeah, well, yeah, that is quite interesting because the stoner community has a very big reputation for people being lazy, couch potatoes, whatever. But that kind of
for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that I obviously I don't know anyone personally because I'm a bit too young to know anyone like that. But I do know that there is a lot of people who just become couch potatoes, lose all their ambitions and stuff. But generally, to know that because obviously a lot of people talk about the productive aspect of weed.
I mean, it's ironic because I feel like the typical stoner that I know these days is extremely active and like more so than people who I know don't smoke. And I feel like smoking in Cape Town, South Africa specifically, comes with like an obligation to like experience the outdoors, and there's a great culture in Cape Town, and I don't see it as being something that has connotations with being like a couch potato.
Right, well that is very interesting, and I think speaking of connotations and effects or whatever, I think that is a great segue into what we're going to talk about next, which is basically the pros and cons. I don't want to say debate, but a conversation around weed. So, Jake, so obviously, I think, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm completely anti-weed. I would definitely wouldn't say that. I think it, as you said, it's definitely really about the type of person you are, and basically the type of personality traits you have. Because if you're someone who, I mean, I don't know if I'd recommend weed, but obviously, I don't really know too much about it. But from what I know, I probably wouldn't recommend it to someone. But I do know, like, for some people, especially like Joe Rogan and Seth Rogers, for just two people popping into my head, it can in some examples be beneficial. So basically, I want to talk about some of the effects of weed. And basically, Jake, quite interesting. Do you know the reason why weed got demonized and illegalized back in the day?
In South Africa or in like America? Are we talking?
No, in America, where basically the anti-weed society, whatever, kickstarted.
I think it was a mixture between the hemp industry and the criminalization of like Mexican and
it was both
immigrants and black people. That was go for it.
No, as you were saying, it is very interesting because it's quite interesting that the reason weed was illegalized wasn't actually because at the time they didn't know. I mean, it's sort of a debate whether it's bad for you or not, but at the time they had no idea that there was a possibility that it was bad for you. It was more like, oh well, as I said, people were trying to frame and put Mexicans in a bad light in America, along with the hemp industry possibly taking over the paper industry back in the day. So it is quite interesting. However, there has been a lot of health information about the negative effects of weed for the brain, the negative effects of weed mentally. So I thought that would be a good thing to talk about, Jake. Before I get into any of that, would you like to talk about what your opinion on what weed can do to you psychologically and physically and mentally?
Well, I feel like I've spoken of quite a bit of what I know. I always go back to saying if you treat it with balance and you know what you're using, then I think it can only be positive for you if you treat it correctly in the right dosages. But the balance, it's very easily
right. But it is also true that weed can have very negative mental health and physical health effects, which is what I'm going to go into now. So basically, there are a lot of studies. I can find the publisher of the studies, but I was doing a lot of research, and there's a lot of medical evidence that proves THC to be detrimental to the health, as I said, physically and mentally. But basically, the biggest one is mental health. Obviously, physical health. I mean, I don't know if you want to speak about that, but the smoking of marijuana obviously isn't very good for your lungs. But but I don't really want to talk about the methods of intake. I kind of want to talk more about the actual substance itself, because while it is true that no one has overdosed, it can't really be denied that there are long-term psychological effects of weed. So there's strong links. I'll try and get the list of the study now if you want, but between the development of schizophrenia in one's brain and weed, right? So obviously, if you don't have any schizophrenia in your brain, you're never going to get schizophrenia. But what weed does, along with other psychedelics like psilocybin mushrooms and LSD, it brings out the schizophrenia a lot earlier. Are you aware of this information?
The problem with that is things like psilocybin and that are also studied to have zero effect on the mind and be proven to be extremely good for you physically and mentally. So
right. But they are.
It also like it has to depend on the person and their state of health before going into it too.
Well, obviously, nothing is going to give you schizophrenia if you don't have schizophrenia. If you don't have schizophrenia in your brain in the first place, but I mean, it's not a deniable fact that marijuana can bring up schizophrenia a lot earlier. So I think that is quite an interesting thing to take into account. The fact that it's not. I mean, a lot of people think that weed is like an only positive thing, but it does also have a lot of negative effects. Also, THC. I'll get all the list of the studies now. Once you finish talking, after you can respond to this. But as we said, it's addictive. I'm not sure if there's a physical aspect of it, but I do know that there is a fairly big mental aspect of marijuana addiction. And also, marijuana is known to bring out anxiety, whereas CBD actually suppresses anxiety. So a big issue these days with weed is that basically now with weed becoming legal, all these bursaries, I think they're called, or are they called bursaries or something? Basically shops where you get weed in America or whatever, just in California. Basically they chemically mess with the weed and make the THC concentrate a lot stronger, which obviously THC has the potential to bring out anxiety, where CBD suppresses it. So back in the day like even before drug dealers started selling it, when it was a legal substance, back in the days I think it was Reagan, I'm not sure, pre-Reagan, when weed was still legal, the CBD would suppress the bringing out of anxiety THC did. But now these days, with the high concentration of THC in marijuana, smoking weed can actually bring out a lot of anxiety. Do you know anyone that's
Yeah,
been
no,
affected
look,
like this?
what you're bringing up are extremely valid points. And I think it all comes down to, like, how do you regulate something that you don't really know so much about? And Canada do it quite well. You can't really go and buy, you can't leave a dispensary in Canada where it's legal to buy with an amount of marijuana that can be detrimental to your health. But at the same time, there is no, like, preconceived amount of grams that is that can be detrimental.
It's not about grams. It's about concentrated. It's about concentrate and levels of THC and THC. So the more higher levels of THC are more prone to bring out anxiety, and vice versa.
Yeah, I guess, and that's why it's important to regulate in that regard.
Yeah,
especially
definitely.
when you don't know so much about it. So I think Canada are doing a good job and should be looked at for an example.
Yeah, definitely. Gibby, you've been pretty silent. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, man. I just agree that, like, what's it called? There's always pros and cons with, like, anything, and yeah, man.
What do you guys reckon of it being legalized in South Africa?
I'm a very strong proposer of that. Basically, anything should be legal, not because they could, because for argument for basically regulation. That goes along with that. Obviously, that goes the same with weed. You know, people are going to get weed either way. So I think, and a lot of countries are doing this. It's a much safer idea.
Illegal, people are wanting it.
Exactly. So it's a lot safer for people, especially with the THC and CBD concentrated ratio between the two. There's a much easier way of giving people a more safe in terms of the possibility of schizophrenia, anxiety, whatever. Basically, if they can regulate the amount of THC and CBD allowed, it brings down the risk of anxiety. It brings down the potential of schizophrenia, anxiety. So I do think weed should be legal, but I think basically anything should be legal, just for arguments of regulation. And whether if we lived in a perfect world and drug dealers weren't allowed, do I think weed should be legal? I'm not sure. Maybe. No, I mean, I do think it's a very, very, very obvious fact that, alcohol is 10 times worse than weed, and alcohol is legal. So do I think weed should be legal? If we lived in a perfect world and drug dealers weren't around, do I think weed should be legal? Maybe.
Jojo, you need to watch Legalize Everything.
I do think legalize. I do agree with legalize literally everything, but that is only because we live in an imperfect world. If we lived in a perfect world, do you think there were no drug dealers? If something was illegal, no one could get it. Do you think weed should be allowed? I'm just gonna go check on something quick.
I think in a perfect world, a perfect utopia, I'd imagine everybody to be growing all their own drugs. That's how I would see it. And then there'd be like an inter-community like conversation, a bit of trading. I don't know. I don't see it being such like because it's the black market that makes markets so huge. And then I guess if that gets legalized, that just goes straight to the corporate world, and then they take over with their multinational corporations. That's what happened in America.
Hold on. Continue recording.
But did you guys know that it's being sold in South Africa for at least a year now, basically, like from semi-legal dispensaries?
Yeah, I think you're allowed to you're allowed to do it in your own home, right? But like you can't do it outdoors.
Hold on, boys, just keep having a conversation. I'm dealing with some technology. Just keep talking.
So basically there's these places, I won't drop the names because I'm not sure like what their legal status is at the moment. I know the one there was one in Muizenberg and it got raided, but basically there were these legal dispensaries where the managers of the places were like, they got their license because they were registered as sangoma, and so they could be like, you could sign up with them as your traditional healer. And so I signed up with the one guy who was my traditional healer, and so I was going there buying fantastic stuff from them. It was a crazy setup.
Yeah.
I think
Anyway,
that all got taken down.
yeah, I did. They got shut down. But Jake, basically, I don't know if you guys saw. I was having some technical issues. But basically, right now we're talking about the current the laws in place around South Africa, because they're very weird. That they're kind of like half-assed laws. You know, you can buy it. I mean, you can't buy it, but you can grow it and give it to your friends. So yeah, what are your opinions on that, Jake?
Or you can buy a jar. You can like buy a jar and then sell, like gift them with the like marijuana. You know, you can find loopholes like that. I don't know. I find that completely stupid.
Yeah,
they need to make up their mind.
Yeah, I agree, man. That's man. The laws are really they're retarded. But anyway, Jake, I think we've talked a lot about weed now. I'm not sure how long we've got left in the episode, but I want to talk more about acting now, because obviously you're an actor. Hold on. I don't know if you can hear me, but Jake, if you can hear me, tell us about how you got into acting in the first place.
Acting was always something that I considered. I always enjoyed like doing orals and stuff in primary school. And then my one friend was kind of like, we were in grade 6, and he was like, "Come on, dude, let's just audition for this play. It'll be a laugh. Let's just do it." I ended up auditioning and then getting the main character. And I was like, oh shit, okay, so I actually got to do this now. And I ended up doing the whole thing. I loved it, got like an external coach, and then just took it from there. Found myself an agent like fairly young. And I've just been trying to hone my skills ever since, really. Try and meet people in the industry.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, sorry, I said, geez, I'm having some real technical issues right now. But, yeah, Jake, so I want to talk about life on set now. Take me present.
Okay.
Tell me a bit about life on set.
Life on set's difficult, eh? If we're comparing like being in a theater production to being a film production, I'd much prefer doing theater work, because film life is so difficult. You don't even understand. Firstly, your call times are always super early in the morning or late at night. And you find yourself working extremely long hours. Luckily, the food's fantastic always.
Yeah.
For some reason, like set food is always great, and hopefully the vibe's good. You usually find like everybody smoking like a box of cigarettes a day easily.
Do you smoke cigarettes, Jake?
But it's intense, dude. Like, you got deadlines, you need to get shit done. It's not easy. It's a stressful time, and it's mentally exhausting. But once you get the work done, it's very fun, and it's a rewarding experience, because you spend a lot of time in film working on the little things, whereas in theater you look at the bigger picture a lot of the time. But sometimes like one line in a film could take a whole week to film. You never know.
Anyway, I wanted to ask, how did you, as an aspiring actor, like get the roles in like overseas movies, or what?
So I had to get in touch with an agent and then work my way up through like those ranks. And I was doing this at a fairly young age, getting small roles, getting introduced to the local casting agencies. And then we have about, I would say, between 25 and 35 international films that get produced here within a year. And so there's often a lot of opportunities, because you're not going to fly a foreigner out to do a small acting role. You'd rather supply like some local talent that can fill it in for you, and you pay them less money. So I always was getting like a lot of little roles, and that was fun. That was good for me. But I guess now I need to start looking to doing some more serious stuff that can sustain me.
Yeah, and how was it on the set of SPUD 3, I believe? Was it cool to be acting with like a bunch of South Africans and like people similar age?
Yeah, It was awesome. That was the first job I ever did, and it was such a dream because I was what you call a featured extra. So I got screen time, but I still didn't really have like a character. But because I was a featured extra, they treated me like a character. So they gave me like extra privileges that the other extras wouldn't get. So I was chilling with like all of the Crazy Eights and who are like all like there's a bunch of them that are really big celebrities now.
You'd probably been like a huge fan of the series before you got the role.
Exactly.
Like, South African.
And they were all so nice. I remember us just like chilling out in between takes, like playing table tennis, playing pool. We were shooting in Rondebosch High School, boys. It was awesome. Yeah, they were all so friendly and really focused on their work. So it really set a good example for me, like coming into the industry. I couldn't have thought about like a better introduction than that.
Yo, and Jake, you got paid a lot of money for acting, eh? I remember. I mean, I remember that you bought like do you still have that van?
I bought like a 1980 surfer van. No, I sold that van because it was giving me a lot of trouble. It wouldn't have been a good first car. Jake,
have you ever been on like a set where you have to like have one of those caravan rooms and whatever, and like the classic Hollywood thing?
Yeah.
How is life on set like that?
It's called a trailer, and that's when you get like the luxury side of things. So you mentioned like Black Sails, Super Dad. Those were like quite big budget films. Well, Black Sails is a TV series, but it's done by Universal.
Black Sails is actually a huge series.
Yeah, it's huge. They had like a PlayStation in my trailer with like a whole like array of games. Like I had my own like little like food station there. It was fantastic, and the whole set there was just a different world. They literally built a city out of like nothing, and it was awesome.
Was the whole thing? Was the whole series filmed in Cape Town, or was it all over?
They literally built. They also filmed Pirates of the Caribbean there, among like quite a lot of pirate films.
Was that?
Is it the place quite near the airport there?
Yeah, were you driving by like Stellenbosch there?
Oh, those boats. Yeah, I always see them like every time.
It's insane there. It's actually a different world. So it was such a funny scene when I was filming there. I was just like 14-year-old kid, and like I'd read the scene, I'd read the notes, but I didn't realize that it was in a brothel. And so they had like about 20 extras who were all just naked girls who were stripping in this brothel. And I'm like doing the scene in the brothel, but I couldn't concentrate on my accent because there were like so many naked girls around me, and I just couldn't like fathom this shit. It was stressful, dude, but it was fun.
Yo, Jake, do you have any other acting like set stories that would be cool?
I mean, sets it's always fun because when you go there, you get as an actor, actors get treated like royalty on set. You get your own chair. People are literally attending to you all day long. Like if you've got a crease in your clothing, they don't want you to even touch it. Like that's for the costume to do, and they will be at you all day long. And so you really just feel like super loved there, super tended to. But some sad stories. I remember this one time I was filming. We were in Paarl doing this. We were shooting the school scene for that Super Dad film that I was doing. It was in the school, and there was this one like really pretty girl who like I got to talking to the whole day, and she was really great. And like at the end of the day, we were all like just like screwing around, running by the pool, and I by accident like tripped her, and she smashed down on the concrete and like fell into the water, and then she didn't speak to me about that, and I was so sad. That was like that was an embarrassing film story.
Yo, man, that sounds terrible, mate. Yo, man, well, Jake, I think we're gonna be starting to wrap it up now, unless Gibbs, you have anything more to talk about? Because I think it's gonna be a sick episode, boys.
This has been it's probably our best episode. This
has been a sick episode. Jake, thank you man, thanks for coming on, Jake. Everyone, you can follow Jake on Instagram. His Instagram will be in the description. If there are any film directors watching this by any chance, hit Jake up. He's a sick actor. I'm gonna be helping with one of my projects. Anyway, boys, this has been the Boring Show. Jake, you've been a sick guest. Everyone, have a good one. Cheers, boys.